95.9 FM, streaming worldwide at KELPradio.com.
915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
This is episode 330. Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I am your host, Andy Frecka. Today we are broadcasting yet again from the heart of the world's largest borderplex. We're here at the KELP studio in El Paso, and today we have the distinct privilege of having Mac Daddy Del Norte on the board. Mac Daddy, how you doing this afternoon?
Hey, Andy, I'm doing just fine. How about yourself?
Oh, you know, I must confess that my vocabulary is painfully poverty-stricken. I am unable to describe the wonder and joy I experience each and every weekday afternoon as we learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you know what I'm thinking about today, Mac Daddy Del Norte?
What's that, Andy?
I think we've talked about this before.
Uh-huh.
Things that are difficult to do in the desert.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, so let's think about things that are difficult to do in the desert. Water skiing.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
For sure, water skiing.
Do you have any?
Rollerblading.
What?
Rollerblading in the desert.
Oh, you mean like on the sand?
On the sand.
Oh.
Of course, that's what I mean.
Rollerblading through the sand.
Through the
dude.
sand.
You cannot rollerblade through red sands. That's
Right,
true.
right.
Or white sands.
Or white sand.
Yeah. Snowball fight.
Yeah.
Not very good and not easy to
Definitely.
do in the desert.
Definitely. You
Right.
can't go swimming in the desert.
Well, we did have someone come on and tell us how they launched their 22-foot boat onto Escarate Lake once.
That is true.
Yeah, so where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, so today we have a very special guest. Do you know why she's special?
Sure, because she is a unique expression of an endlessly creative God.
Yes, she is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God. Also, you know, like on this program, we're on this journey to get to know our community better, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And this is someone who knows El Paso, right? So, but not only does she know El Paso, she's doing something that's difficult to do in El Paso.
Oh, what's that?
Gardening.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah, I would think gardening's probably easier than water skiing on Escarate.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. For me, it's daunting. I think she's pretty confident in what she's doing, but to me, I would be pretty stressed out trying to garden in the desert. So I'm hoping we learn a little bit about how to do this.
Yeah,
but also we're going to be learning about the El Paso Children's Garden.
Okay.
Have you ever been to the El Paso Children's Garden?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
I
It's under development.
It's underdeveloped. It's underdeveloped.
That's why I've never been.
Yeah, but she's just such a active member of the community. She built the University Medical Center Foundation of El Paso. She's just really active in local philanthropy and fundraising for healthcare, has been through the years. So there's a lot for us to talk about.
Nice.
So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Dennece Knight. Oh, I promised you. There we go. Sorry about that. I promised you thunderous applause, but our studio audience was a little bit slow today. Welcome to the program, Dennece.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, so a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, let's talk about these solar adobe houses you used to build.
In an earlier incarnation. This would have been in the 70s.
Wow.
Built some Paso Solar Adobe homes.
Paso Solar Adobe. Yeah.
With my first husband.
Okay.
And, built into earth roofs, built into slopes, south facing, that kind of thing. But they're, if you said you live in an adobe.
Right, I do. My house is
And
adobe.
there's just a different feel. And
Absolutely.
they're very... you don't have those big square corners, you don't have those hard lines, you just have a softer kind of feel. But they're a lot of fun to build because they're very kind of challenges there.
Right.
But it's a natural indigenous material, and we ought to be doing more of it.
Yeah, so Why aren't we doing more of it? Do you know the answer to that? Is it just cost prohibitive, or do we just want to slap up?
It fell out of the state-of-the-art kind of building.
Okay.
And so we went to, lumber, and they couldn't. The more you do that, the less craftsmanship you have for
Right.
skills like Adobe and mud floors and
Right.
and those kinds of things. There's a separate set of knowledge there that is now kind of slipping away.
Yeah.
Kind of like gardening.
Right. Right. Well, don't worry. We won't talk about gardening. But it is interesting living here in the desert because, when my wife and I moved here, I thought, if I'm going to live in the middle of the desert, I want to live in a desert style house. If we're going to do this, let's go all out. But when I think about living in the desert, I don't think about gardening. But it's such.
Do you like to eat?
Oh man, you'd blow your mind how much I like to eat.
Well, in truth, you could garden almost anywhere.
Okay.
Okay, and it's a matter of selecting the right plant. There are hardiness zones, okay, in terms of how much rain, how much sun, and when we freeze and that kind of thing. And plants are largely selected based on what band you're in, like that. That we're
Okay.
in something that the USDA calls Zone 8A, okay?
Zone 8A.
8A, 8B. I think they just changed it because it's gotten several degrees hotter. And so the USDA, for the first time in years, changed some of those, the map on that a little bit. But we are in the very arid edge of that. And of course, what happens is most people today are you tell me that you don't garden, more than half the people I talk to don't get their hands dirty.
Right. Well, I shouldn't say I don't
So
garden
you're in
at
good
all.
company.
I don't. I shouldn't say I don't garden. I go to the nursery, not for the kids, but the one where they sell plants. And we just pulled up, not to make this program about me, but.
But go ahead.
I had a yucca plant, and out of the yucca plant there was growing I'm blanking, the verde, the one with the yellow flowers, the tree with the thorns. What's the name of it?
Prickly pear?
Yeah. No, a
The
tree.
tunas? With the tunas, a tree?
Yeah.
Joshua tree? It could be a lot of things.
The verde tree with the big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Palo Verde.
Yeah, Palo Verde.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about yucca.
Yeah. No, it was growing out of the yucca, and they were fighting, and finally I put the yucca out of its misery. And so I'm very proud of my Palo Verde tree. It's growing beautifully. Doesn't require any watering.
Yeah.
And so
that's a good selection is that yellow carpet of blossoms as they fall. It looks
Sure.
beautiful for a
Yeah.
period of time there.
Yeah.
And
you see like the elephant walking across the tightrope, and there's like the guy on the end of its trunk, and he's blindfolded, and he's like and you're like, how did he get into this? So how did you get into this?
I had one of those moments in life where you stop and you look in the mirror and you go, what do you care about?
Oh, wow.
Okay. And
That's a good question.
yeah, it is. And if you really kind of let that come to you, it's usually these sort of fairly mundane, broad kind of, women, children, plants.
Sure.
Now, run with that, okay?
I care about women, children, and plants.
As you mentioned, I was at UMC and started those foundations from scratch, and so I'd been there since like 2006. So I'd been working on this since the late 80s.
Okay.
I saw this sort of opportunity to create a true botanic garden for El Paso. And I did research in the background on it, kind of as a hobby. It was kind of my refuge for 20 years.
Okay.
And then after the Children's Hospital and after I retired about 6 months before COVID, as I mentioned. And so kind of like everybody else, kind of in the deer in the headlights during that early phase. And then you sort of hit that little quiet part of COVID.
Let's check Mac Daddy Del Norte. Mac Daddy, can you describe what a labyrinth is? What is
A labyrinth?
Yes.
I'm guessing it's a piece of tree. Or a plant.
Feel free to check in anytime.
Yeah. A labyrinth is a maze.
Actually, a maze is very different. A maze
I
is
stand
you
corrected.
can get lost
We're
in a
learning.
maze.
Okay.
There's lots of dead ends.
Right.
Technically speaking, in a labyrinth, there's only one way in and one way out. Now we have some other emergency kind of things that go in here, little channels. And things.
Fire
if people
zoning.
want to wander around, they can. But labyrinths are actually symbolic for a journey to the center of the soul.
Oh.
They've been around for thousands of years. The
Okay.
earliest ones that were found were in Crete. But for me, it offered an opportunity to create. At this point, I had a pretty good business background. I had a pretty good philanthropy background. I did understand a lot of the major issues in El Paso. And so it was sort of my personal challenge to design this as something that would be very multivariate, engagement-rich, multi-generational. I had a big event background, and I wanted it to be a self-sustaining operational model for a not-for-profit. Not-for-profits are up against it every year,
Okay.
And so we've proven that we did that. But each path, there's 7 paths, the simplest of labyrinths, 7-path labyrinth, and each path is planted in a dominant seasonal color. That's a labyrinth.
All right.
You have one right there.
Right. I'm looking at this picture.
And so what we did is there's one path that's predominantly red focus, so reddish fruits, reddish nuts, reddish foliage. One is orange, one is yellow, one is green, blue, purple, pink. And so there's 4 gardens on each path. That gave us the opportunity to create different planting styles. So on each path, one garden is more contemporary, one is more tree focused, one is more floral focused, and one is more native grass focused.
Okay.
And so the opportunity to create individually themed gardens, if you look at the back, you've got 32 individually themed gardens. And there's different event rentals in there. So if you're somebody who attends a lot of events in El Paso, you tend to kind of go to the same 3 or 4 places over and over again.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
And so we built in what we call started out calling little houses. Now we call them not so little houses. There's 5 of them that will hold up to 100 in capacity, 2 that will hold up to 200, and 1 up to 100. And then there's a large center.
Just told me. Let's get an idea of the total. Now I have to figure out what's actually happening here. Okay, so you have this garden. It's looks like concentric. I'm just going to call it concentric circles, but it's a labyrinth based on different colors. The colors have different plants in them,
Right.
And then there's these different themes, such as the meadow, the enchanted forest, the hedgerows, and each of them look very different from each other.
They are. Every garden is unique in this.
Right.
Do you visit botanic gardens when you travel at all?
I have been to a botanical garden or 2. Yes.
So that's the fastest growing sector of cultural attractions. Okay?
Interesting.
1 out of every 3 world travelers visits a garden.
Okay.
And we're the closest ones to us, or you can go north about 300 miles to Albuquerque, Santa Fe. You can go west about 400 miles, Phoenix, Tucson, or east about 600 miles to Dallas, Fort Worth. So we have an opportunity here to create something different. And this is also something that's kind of timely because it's knowledge that's slipping away every day. Do you have anybody, did your mother grow things? Did you have family members that were farmers or anything?
My agricultural background is, I don't want to call it sketchy, but I did help grow some tomatoes as a child.
Okay, well.
in rural Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for most people and kids at this point, they're a couple of generations removed from any of those kind of memories. And most kids in El Paso have never had the experience of walking through a field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to the desert,
agree,
right?
I agree with that.
And most kids in El Paso now have never seen, for the most part, a natural trickle of water. The Rio Grande is a culvert. And even, if your heritage is Mexico, you probably have seen an ocean. Mm-hmm. But not everybody is part of a family that gets to go to see the mountain waterfalls or go to the lake or go to the ocean.
Yeah.
And
I took my family to see the mountain waterfalls several times, and they were all dried up. it was sad. Anyway, that's just to your point, though.
And so we have one garden that's a water garden. We use water features judiciously in a desert garden, but we do have like a floating rock fountain that is sort of an illusion kind of thing that's in the sculpture garden. We have one water garden. And we just want kids to fall in love with the peaceful nature of water. If they've never seen it, we protect what we love. So,
yeah. Well, I am looking at this, and I guess the very basic question is, how big is this whole thing?
60 acres.
60 acres of gardens.
60 acres of garden. There's about 8 acres of parking, and then the garden itself, the labyrinth, is about 32 acres. So not all of that's cultivated because there's buildings in it and that kind of thing. And then in the rear is horticulture maintenance.
Wow.
Greenhouse.
I don't know where we're at. What 50, but I feel like I'm too young.
That's worth celebrating.
To have a checkbook.
We'll help.
I'm too young to have a checkbook.
Very funny. Since we've been organized for the purpose of creating a public botanic garden, what we'll run through everything that you see as interdependence of plants and people. If you kind of get that, you get everything, really. So we had to go through sort of research concept. We worked with in situ architect, and we told them it was a labyrinth, and we had to start from there. We were, asked about that along the way, but that gave us opportunities to create all these different themes and all these different planting styles that will expose people to a wide variety of plants. That are suitable here. Most people, much like you described yourself, go to a big box store and pick out something they think's pretty.
Yeah.
And they take it home. They have no idea. They don't know to find out whether it's actually something suitable for our region or not. A lot of stuff that's there isn't.
Yeah.
And but then when it doesn't flourish, they're like, that's it. I can't garden. I don't have a green thumb. I don't. And they never look back.
Right.
So we have some work to do.
Yeah.
This is very education rich, so we've got custom curriculum that we designed for like school tours.
Okay.
This is located on the corner of Vinton and Bosque Road. And if you head towards New Mexico, there's an exit called Westway Vinton Exit 2 just before you come to the state line.
Right. So you're talking going I-10 west out of El Paso, almost.
We're right up to the state line.
Right, but almost smack dab in the middle between El Paso and Las Cruces.
Correct.
Was that an accident?
Well, it was when we were looking for the land, there aren't a lot of 60-acre parcels out there. And for a public garden like this, accessibility and wayfinding is very important. If you visit gardens, a lot of the gardens in the world were old, many more than that. No matter how El Paso grows, we're still going to be 1.6 miles from I-10.
Right.
And so from a wayfinding standpoint, for the long term, from a business standpoint, it's really ideal.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, that's super cool. When I think about this, I have another question that's coming to mind. 60 acres of gardening. Is it going to use more or less water than a data center?
It'll use less. But data centers are kind of down the list of the top 10 things that use water, honestly. But there's an interesting story about the water because obviously we're asked about water a lot, and justifiably so.
Sure.
Irrigation water is increasingly saline. It's been researched for now a number of years by a guy at Texas A&M called Garisha Ganjigupta. And what that means is his research is driven by its effect on cash crops.
Okay.
So cotton will always be good. All of that is quinoa, which is a grain. I don't know if you ever have quinoa instead of rice or something like that. And
I've heard the word.
Yeah.
Just like Mac Daddy and Labyrinth.
Well, we want to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. But aquifers are obviously the level of that rising lower. We're on city water.
Okay.
And we budgeted for city water. Cost of business, doing business as a botanic garden.
Sure.
If you're building a garden for the ages, you want to know that these plants are going to be taken care of. So the thing there is, we're utilizing all kinds of water conservation. So passive water harvesting in the design of each individual 30 of the 32 gardens to capture water for the plants that need it the most there. And then we're also recycling water.
Okay.
We're recycling gray water and black water, and working with engineering at UTEP on the monitoring of that, trying to build in a little collaboration there. But we're recycling 30 to 40% of our water.
Very cool. Okay, so I'm looking at the website, elpasochildrensgarden.org. It's 60-acre site. It's talking about
Kids with adventure
Okay.
and exploration and curiosity, and yes, the natural world. Okay, but this is not.
Certainly, probably, I think it's fair to say an even smaller amount have even considered gardening.
Well, I think your schools are doing a better job of building in school gardens about that. In the time that I've been working on this, there is now something called nature deficit disorder.
Nature deficit disorder.
Studies are done, the books are written. It kind of proves what we all knew to begin with, which is that greenness supports a child's cognitive development.
Okay.
It improves their. She has written curriculum her entire life, and so we already have curriculum designed for. One curriculum on pollinators, one on ecosystems. We're about to do one on, there's one on butterflies. We're about to do one on native grasses.
Yeah.
We're going to do one on conflict resolution. We just had a funder for that.
Wait,
you put so all kids need community service hours now once they're in junior high school, college, and there's not enough of good opportunities. Even at the hospital when I was there. People come to the hospital thinking they're going to rock the babies and read to old people, right? That doesn't happen anymore for the most part. At post-COVID, you've got very much even more a different world. And so we devised ways to involve them in significant programs. But here, you actually get to get your hands dirty, get out there. There's a volunteer training program where they go through a curriculum. Our horticulture team will have ultimate responsibility for plants. But if you're a volunteer, you're going to get to really get hands-on training and be under the guidance of horticulturists and arborists. So it's a real opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So when I look at this, I'm picturing 60 acres of gardens. You also said event centers.
Yes.
Plural. So if someone wants to have an event, they could choose the Enchanted Forest one time.
Well, actually, there's not a venue in the Enchanted Forest, but there is there's a little rock chapel in the sanctuary for up to 200.
Wow.
There is an area called Sweetgrass that's next to the sculpture garden.
Okay.
That is our ode to contemporary, because about a third of the people kind of like contemporary over rustic and traditional. We did market research, and that hugs a corner and has a promenade from the sculpture garden out to it, and has a planted roof, and it's going to be quite remarkable. Cottage. That's on the exposure to tea parties, but not the real deal. And so we look forward to sharing that with people, the fun of that.
Right.
And then we have Frida's house, Casa Azul, in her garden. We have a prairie house, which is if you have a prairie, you have to have a little house on the prairie.
Right.
And so that's a log cabin type kit, if you will. Mm-hmm. We have a cabin in the woods. There's a separate garden called the Woods. And that's a piney woods. We do some work with Arbor Day Foundation for a long time now, preparing for that. They do a lot more than just little saplings, but every turn you make, you have a completely different experience.
Right. Well, I guess when I'm looking at this, I'm going to ask the very basic question: 50 million.
Yeah. Tropical butterflies rather than native butterflies, because then you can be open year-round. Okay. And you can't talk about pollinators enough right now.
Right.
I don't know if you're aware that there's been a 40% collapse of bee colonies in the U.S.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that because it's something that keeps on kind of popping up. Mm-hmm. I don't know, just somewhere on my peripheral is elpasochildrensgarden.com.
.org.
Yeah, thank you. I was literally reading it and I read it wrong. elpasochildrensgarden.org. What a project. 60 acres, 30 acres will be gardens, right? Mm-hmm. Out in Vinton Way, West El Paso.
Canutillo, technically.
You're set to go get the oregano. Don't miss that.
Yes.
And that's at the Eastside Choice Meats, Lumberland and Treewood, Andy.
Thank you, Charlie One. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thanks.
And we're back with Dennece Knight talking about the El Paso Children's Garden. Dennece, what is the El Paso Children's Garden view on a bowl of menudo before a day of gardening?
I think that's one of those personal tastes, just like what plants you plant. Okay, that's part of the fun of it.
Right. Okay. So we were talking.
I'm a pozole girl myself.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Pozole is pretty good as well. Yeah, I got you. But we were talking before the traffic break about I don't know what's going on with the bees.
So there's been a 40% collapse of bee colonies in the U.S. over the last few years. Now, some of it was due to mite infestations, some of it's due to climate conditions, but basically we're destroying habitats left and right. And we're not planting plants that attract pollinators. Let me tell you how easy that is. There's a plant called milkweed. It's like the ultimate plant for pollinators. It's a native flower, okay? And so Asclepsia is the actual name for it. And you throw it out there and it'll bloom. And those blooms, I don't care where you are or what your yard is like or what part of town you're in. When that blooms, you're going to have pollinators all over it.
Okay, so
it's that easy.
Okay, you said milkweed. All right,
Mm-hmm.
and I pulled this up because I that's what you got from eating lettuce. But when you say milkweed, it sounds like not something that's very interesting to look at.
These common names have evolved over hundreds of years, but
Right,
it's
but-
got a beautiful flowers.
Well,
on it.
that's what I'm getting
And there's a
at.
number of different colors.
It's a very
But that's
vivid
just one
color.
example,
Right.
And we're going to train people about all of these things, okay? And so it's a real opportunity. I think that the other thing that we're going to have, and we've got a garden called the Three Sisters. That is a completely edible garden. So anybody that wants to learn anything about growing edible food, the list of very early crop, mid-season, fall, and then the herbaceous area was curated by a lady by the name of Bev Clark, who's a master gardener, master naturalist, and spent hours and hours and hours. So we already have all the planning done for this garden. There's raised beds for public space, for mobility. We'll generate about 5,000 pounds of food a year. And we've met with El Pasoans Fighting Hunger. Whoever's doing a good job at the time of distributing fresh food, they've given us a letter of support. Continuo ISD has given us a letter of support. But this is where you'll really be amazed at the number of different fresh vegetables and fruits that can be grown here. We have you enter through a squash tunnel, other plants, other times of the year.
Okay.
And then
A squash tunnel.
yeah, there's squash hanging in the
Okay.
If you grow them up over a tunnel, and they
That's
so
cool.
there's lots of ways to do that. And then we have a chicken coop. Back to the big long chicken run, kind of everybody loves to watch the chickens play. They're
Right.
endlessly amusing. And back to the interdependence of plants and people.
Right.
There's in the middle of this garden. There's what we call a kind of, and then there is a bee house. We want the largest beehive in the United States. We were inspired by a beehive in New Zealand that is a 360 walk-around beehive. The bees come and go through the roof. And we want the largest beehive in the United States.
Yeah.
I think that if people will get off the freeway for the giant pistachio, they'll get off the freeway for the largest beehive in the United States. Just my theory, but I have a
That's
lot of people
funny.
that agree with me.
Yeah.
And so there is another area to sort of educate people and themselves. And so that's one of many pollinators. The butterfly house, you'll see the full metamorphosis of butterflies, and from pupa to caterpillar to butterfly. But we also want people to understand that there's a lot of different types of pollinators. Okay, besides just pretty things like hummingbirds and butterflies, bats are pollinators, mosquitoes are pollinators.
Yeah.
Beetles are pollinators. And so if we weren't killing off everything that eats the mosquitoes, we would probably have a more unified kind of cycle there. And so we're not going to start there, but there's a lot of things that are pollinators. We have the white yucca that blooms here that is beautiful. There's one white moth about the size of your thumb that pollinates that plant.
Okay.
And if something happens to that white moth, we won't have white yucca.
Oh, wow.
That's the interdependence of
Right.
plants and people. And so being able to educate people and kind of enthrall them with what is endlessly kind of exciting and help them understand how to build their own little kind of, I don't care if you put a plant in a container or in a little window box or whatever's comfortable for you. If you're planting something, you're a gardener. You can grow tomatoes in a container. You can grow chilies in a container. You can do a whole lot of things on the balcony of an apartment. And so there's a way to approach this for everybody.
So you're telling me about this massive vision, and I apologize, but I'm still. It's a vibrant color.
No, they're beautiful. Beautiful plants.
And you're saying if we planted milkweed, it doesn't require a lot of watering?
Well, it requires some,
Yeah.
okay, but it's also, you've got to plant plants that attract pollinators because they require that to be able to survive, okay?
Right.
And the other thing is just general kind of habitats that support it.
Right.
We kind of mow right through all that. And a yard that's covered with, I hope this isn't personal, I hope a yard that's covered with rock,
I feel like things just got real personal.
killing soil,
Yeah.
okay, soil killer.
So I've talked about this.
And if there's plants there, you're rebuilding the soil.
Yeah.
And so helping people kind of understand, even if it's not the entire space, but if it's a small space, they can do a whole lot.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's so funny. You talk about the gravel. My backyard is gravel. Chagrin. The front yard, and this, I did not do this. It was the way the house was when we bought it. Is I think for a lot of people in El Paso, it's like what they dream of their front yard of being. It's completely cement, the whole front yard. When you see these kind of things around the city, and you have this vision for this garden, and really what would you like El Paso to look like?
Well, it's what I want El Pasoans to look like. Okay, I want them to be comfortable buying a plant or buying a seed, putting it in some dirt, and watching something grow, and feel as confident as you need to do even just that. That's a game changer right there. The more economically distressed families are, with just paying for basics and working multiple jobs and all that, the less gardens we're going to have.
Yeah.
It's because out of just sheer time and resources. It's not that it takes some. You can do things with cuttings from plants without even going and buying plants, right?
Sure.
And so places like this become even more important for people to have a beautiful place to just have a moment of reverie, to connect with nature. Remember where food, medicine, and shelter come from? We sort of don't connect those dots anymore.
Right.
And really have a place through the decades. I don't know where you grew up, but the thing about planting a tree with your dad.
Yeah.
There was generationally there was a time when that was a thing, and you come
Right.
back home and remember when we planted that tree and look how big it is now.
Sure.
Well, that doesn't happen anymore for the most part because people
Right.
have moved 7-8 times by now.
Yeah.
They'll have a chance to do that in this garden. We have one area, the Enchanted Forest. You mentioned that. It is a forest that has interspersed about every 40 feet with items of natural interest. There's giant pine cones made from shovel heads. There's a giant caterpillar. There's giant mushrooms. There's the enchantment of wandering through and it opening up and discovering these things. We have an area called the Wilderness, patterned after the Gila Wilderness.
Oh, wow.
So brushier,
Gila.
scrappier,
Yeah.
different set of plants.
Right.
And you enter to a little miner shack, so a little history of El Paso, some of the ologies, if you will. And you see the animal prints, and it closes in, and it opens up to a giant tarantula. And you have to go through the giant tarantula legs to get to the All Abilities playground on the other side. But that garden continues on to an area with some wilderness dwellings, which are basically tents. And so you pick your package, and what do you have? Is it date night? Is it anniversary? Is it a family occasion? You pick your package, and we have it ready for you when you get there. None of these rentables are for overnights.
Right.
We're still a botanic garden first, but they're for personal occasions, corporate occasions, and we have a market that's just begging for more options in that
Right.
area, and a little bit of beauty.
Wow. Yeah, this is truly, it's a massive project. I believe it's needed. If you're just joining us, we are talking about the El Paso Children's Garden. We're with Dennece Knight, ElPasoChildren'sGarden.org. As you mentioned, for children of all ages. Love this idea of seeing this botanical garden here in the borderland. I have had the opportunity to visit botanical gardens in different places around the world, and to have that here, just thinking about the idea of, out-of-town guests visiting, a place to go, walk around, really see something interesting, learn something. Love that you're doing that. We do need to take a break. Before we go into the break, this is the part of the program where KELP Radio would like to thank our impact partners. These are local businesses, churches, nonprofit organizations, educational institutions that have joined our journey to serve our community through this radio ministry. The impact partner I'd like to point out today is Caring Companions. I'd like to thank them. They're and wants to stay at home. Check out Caring Companions. Really good people over there, and love what they're doing. I've had a few guests on the program who are using their services. They all speak very highly of them. The owner, Amy Minjares, has been on this program. Really love what they're doing at Caring Companions. If you have a loved one like that, and maybe you just need to get out for a few, companionsep.com. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
As a business owner or CEO, you carry a lot, big decisions, heavy responsibilities, and often no one to process it with. That's why C12 exists. C12 is a confidential peer advisory group for Christian business leaders who want to build great businesses for a greater purpose. It's not networking, and it's not a class. It's a room of leaders committed to excellence, accountability, and purpose. If that sounds like what you've been missing, learn more at c12borderplex.com.
915.
Testify.
I used to party a lot in Juarez in my younger years, involved in 3 car crashes due to my addiction to alcohol. I almost lost my life. Thank God I never killed anybody. I'm just here to let you know that by the power of the Lord Jesus Christ, through His Holy Spirit, He transformed my life and He rescued me from alcohol. Jesus Christ can restore anything, and He was the one that made a difference in my life, and I am so grateful for Him. If you trust in Him, I guarantee you that He will not let you down, but you have to believe that He will, and He will do it. By the grace of God, I was involved in prison minister here at the local county jail for 20 years, and only God knows how many hearts the Lord changed there, because I was just an instrument that would go there and share the truth of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. My name is Ruben Soria, and if God can do this transformation of my life, He can do it to anyone, because there is nothing impossible for God.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
desertvoice.media.
Greetings, KELP listeners. My name is Terry Gray, and I have the joy and privilege of serving as the pastor of Calvary Chapel Sun City, located on the west side of El Paso. I also have the joy of connecting with the radio audience in the borderland through the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. On Summons, we study the Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, precept by precept. Please join us each weekday at 5 p.m. for Summons right here on KELP.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we're with Dennece Knight of the El Paso Children's Garden. And Dennece, during the break, as I was saying, you know what? This genuinely is super cool. I'm not just pretending to be excited.
Can I quote you on that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But no, this is amazing. When I look at this, I guess what I'm thinking about is, you said you know $50 million, which if we all chip in $50, we could make it happen. But how does that work? Do you need to raise all that money before it actually happens, or?
So it's a big project, and you do it in what's called phased construction, like most projects are. Jordan Foster's our builder. We kind of consulted with them, but we will probably build parking first and begin the kind of rollout curb appeal from that. There's native grass strips in there, which will immediately begin volunteer education. You were talking about your yard.
Yes.
It's possible to do, instead of turf, to do this mixture of wildflowers, native flowers, and native grasses that are just absolutely lush and beautiful looking. And it's the difference between turf that's high maintenance and very high water requirements, and completely native plant environment that changes seasonally and requires almost no water and almost no maintenance. So we'll have to talk more about that sometime.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting.
But we will be doing this in phases. And the first phase after the parking area is that we'll do the lower left corner, which includes the terrace garden ribbons of color, if you will, tiered up at the entrance, the big banco that people can sort of, gather up as they get there. Then we have something called the field. You enter through 50-foot, 10-foot bunnies, sentries on either side, and there's a Mr. McGregor's garden, and there's 100 bunnies hidden throughout the field. You get to walk about a 200-foot actual field of grasses, which we were talking about. A lot of kids hadn't had that experience,
Right.
and there's all sorts of stuff in there. There's a Beatrix Potter reading circle. There's a bunny burrow where you get to actually, see what down the rabbit hole means, and then there's a butterfly house, the permanent butterfly house, named by the Shiloh family. That'll be native butterflies. There's an area in front of that for small ceremonies and small gatherings. Then there's the sculpture garden, named by Catherine Brennan and Chris Cummings. He's a local sculptor. And there's rock cairns in there that are specially designed. There's all sorts of really textural and there's a thing called the floating pavilion that will have cocktail parties and piano in there in the evenings. And off of that is an area called Sweetgrass that has a little house for 300. And that's contemporary with a planted roof and contemporary use of native grasses.
Right.
And then there is a smaller garden called the Glen, which is sort of a little hobbit area with a 18-foot sleeping giant. And
Will you have actual hobbits?
We'll have little hobbit houses.
Okay.
Mother of two sons and sister, three brothers. And so I was like, yeah, check. Okay on that. I know where they go. So we have a little fairy village on the end there. And if you're asking how some of these tremendous things are being done,
Yeah.
there's an interesting story there because there's a young man by the name of Guillermo Becerra that's from El Paso, went to school here, had family here. He was the creative director for Six Flags for
Okay.
15 years.
Wow.
And I heard about him, managed to get in front of him, and learned at that time that Six Flags had sold. I was not aware of that.
Okay.
And so, like many corporate takeovers, they get rid of the most expensive people at the top, and his former number two is in his position.
Right.
Well, he was in charge of all the special features, So we did an initial kind of deal. He came back and said, no, this is going to work. He says, he says, I want to do this full time. Here's my proposition. So we've been working together full time for the last year and a half almost. And you know how Disney has Imagineers?
Okay.
We have Visionaires. And so we're going to have the Visionaire Apprentice Workshop where local kids, when Billy was about 19, he always had some artistic ability, but somebody handed him a piece of clay and a little tool and said, I think you can do this. Here, let me show you how. Well, he wants to do that for other kids here in El Paso, and these are very marketable skills now. We have a list of equipment, writing grants for that and looking for donors for that, but there's a lot of things that's carving and painting, and so it's going to be a real neat deal for some kids that want to be part of learning from somebody like that.
Wow. So, again, this is bigger than I thought it would be.
Bigger than a bread box.
Right. Exactly. With that in mind, like, how many people in a year do you project would be visiting?
So phased up, as we phase this out to add more gardens, it's like endless ribbon cuttings for a period of time. I didn't mention that there's an inner center at the very middle of all this that holds up to 2,000 in conference seating and 1,000 at 60-inch rounds. So graduations, big events, big weddings, conferences, all kinds of things. But so it phases up by adding all the different income streams, the usual. And by the time it's fully open, 1 million visitors a year.
Wow.
And that's not unusual for a garden of this size in the United States and elsewhere. There is, it took me a while to own this statement, but there's not another garden like it anywhere in the world. And even I kept thinking, well, somebody's going to do this. Good ideas are kind of like that. But there is not another garden designed like this, and so it will be very unique. If you start at the beginning and walk all the way through, you've done about a 5K. And unlikely you'll be able to avoid all the distractions we planted for you along the way.
Sure.
You'll pause for the giant caterpillar, or you'll take a moment on all the different things that we built in here. So, but lots of beauty and lots of ways to learn and lots of ways to grow. So we hope you'll be part of helping us make this happen.
Right. I do want to ask, how people can get involved and all that. Before we get to that part of the program, you mentioned you'll have the world's largest beehive. I think some people would be concerned about bee stings.
About bee stings?
Yeah.
If believe it or not, if you have plants, you're going to have a garden. You're going to have bees and pollinators in a garden, okay, to pollinate crops. What's happening right now is we're literally trucking bees back and forth across the country to pollinate
I've
cash
seen
crops.
that.
And so it's a real thing. So the bees go in and out through the tube that you're in. Okay, so take a deep breath; it'll be okay. But we want to teach you about that and teach you how to coexist. I mean, if basically, they pretty much leave you alone.
Right. They're busy with all the
and we're going to
flowers.
educate people about that. And if you are somebody that gives an anaphylactic shock, if you get a bee sting, we will probably have some things there available for you in our medical area.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Okay, so we only have a couple minutes left. If I think you said volunteer gardeners. Did you say that?
Yeah, there is a volunteer program that as soon as we're even beginning to plant the native grass areas or any of those areas, we'll begin some education. And so we'll have a way that people can register for that and be part of that.
Okay.
Right now we're in development. We're actually, it's taken all these years to get through, secure the land and do the master site plan and the landscape design garden by garden. We did a phase 1 environmental, geotech, traffic study, environmental, all the usual. And so here we are. We had to do all that to be where we are today. But our economic impact study says we bring about $79 million a year in economic impact to El Paso when it's fully open. If we're only half open, only 40 million, sorry, okay? But we're pretty excited about the win-win created here.
Hard sharing about this, but you're really enjoying it. Such a passion for it, which is contagious.
Thank you.
And when I look at this, I hope that for our listeners, will at least become excited and cheer you on as you're doing this.
Would you take visitors up from out of town to this?
Absolutely. Because I'm going to tell you this, because we've totally run out of time. But one of the questions I ask people when they come on this program is if you could take someone somewhere in El Paso to impress them if they visited for the first time, and it's not a restaurant, where would you take them? And everyone says Scenic Drive or a Chihuahuas game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Downtown, really cool things. But I look forward to the day when we hear the El Paso Children's Garden.
Me too.
Yeah.
And thank you for helping me share the information.
Right. So thank you so much for coming in today, Dennece.
Thank you.
As we always say, let's learn to love our city and love our neighbors. Today I'm going to add, let's learn to love gardening and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. To listen to this or any previous edition of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media and click on the 915 Talk link. Let's continue to learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erickson Tata. Tamika was born with a hearing and speech impairment, and kids used to tease her mercilessly. They made fun of the way she talked, mimicking her lisp. Tamika wanted to disappear, but her mother would not let her fade into the shadows